Yourselves.
Hi, Teresa Gilio, and I'm assisting with the Zoom meeting today.
Leslie Hervey, clerk to the board.
Commissioner Alicia Reese.
Good afternoon. I'm County Commissioner Denise Treehouse.
Jeff Aludo, County Administrator.
James Sayer, legal counsel for the board.
Thank you so much. Stephanie Summerall Dumas, President of the Hamilton County Board of County Commissioners. We have a lot on our agenda today, so I will get started. And we always start with silent prayer and the Pledge of Allegiance. In this world. And I know it can happen because miracles happen every day. If you could please stand for the pledge. I said my prayer, didn't allow you guys to say you were, I was so into my own, I'm sorry, I apologize. So let's have a moment of prayer. Thank you. Amen. Thank you. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. Thank you. I'd like to make a motion to approve the minutes of the previous session.
Second.
Commissioner Summer Dumas.
Yes,
Commissioner Reese.
Yes.
Commissioner Dreehouse.
Yes.
thank you so much. Okay, our next order of business is public comments.
There's no one online.
Okay, all righty. So we will, I think this might be the first time we haven't had any public comments. I will move forward on comments and motions. I do not have a lot today. Matter of fact, I just wanted to mention, I'm sure Commissioner Dreehouse will talk a little bit more about it. We had our One Ohio Foundation meeting yesterday. And so it was, I thought, a very fruitful one. And so we're looking at the monies that are coming down for addiction recovery, treatment, sustainability as it relates to services. And so we had about 22 people there from different areas of the county and different areas of expertise to talk about what they thought we needed to do when this money comes down. We'll initially be getting about 2.1 million for 18 years. And so we have to be very strategic on where these monies are going. So that's all I had for now. So I will pass it over to Vice President Reese.
Thank you. Thank you, Madam President. Just wanted to highlight again, there are people, we still getting calls in our office about help as it relates to being able to keep their homes and pay their mortgage and rental assistance as well as utility assistance. And just wanted to highlight that there still continues to be a great need out there. And certainly we still have help available on 513relief.org. And just wanted to put that out there because we had several calls from people still asking for, where do they turn to? So wanted to highlight that. Also wanted to just also highlight that the board, in terms of getting the vaccinations, the boosters, I guess second or third booster, that we still have that at the Board of Elections. It is completely free. And I'm not sure what all other counties are doing, but I know that our county has done, I think, a very good job in partnership with our county health department to make sure that this vaccination is still accessible as well as testing is accessible. I was at the Board of Elections this week. I went to vote. I encourage people to go. We do have a primary this year. It's kind of confusing because we've had two primaries. We had a primary in May and we have a primary in August. And I've had people ask me, well, if I voted in May, am I voting in August? And is there going to be an election in November? So wanted to just clarify to folks that if you voted in May, what you're voting in August is not the same categories of positions as you'll be voting on in August. This one is dealing with your state representatives, which is very important. There are a lot of issues that are at the state level. So your state representatives and your state senators will be on this August primary ballot, and there still will be a general election in November. So I know it's a little bit of confusion, and when I went to vote, walked right in, there was no one there. But I was also able to see, we had the voting on one side, and then they also had the signs for COVID vaccinations, boosters on the other side. So you can both vote and get your booster and your vaccination if necessary at the same time. So just wanted to clear that up, and also wanted to commend again us being able to use the early vote center that we have to be able to do a variety of things besides just voting. We're able to vote, but we also utilized it, and is continuing to utilize it for you to be able to get the vaccination at our Hamilton County Board of Elections. I don't know if there's others that's doing that, but I think we were certainly a leader in using the early vote center for these purposes. And then, of course, tonight, using the Board of Elections again for a town hall public hearing dealing with the various levies. So we've been using the Board of Elections facilities, and I think doing a variety of things to help the citizens of Hamilton County. So wanted to just bring those issues up and to let people know that early voting has already started, and you can early vote right now at the Hamilton County Board of Elections. And if you need a shot, a booster, a vaccination, you also can get that currently right now at the Board of Elections with free parking. So that's all I have.
Thank you. Commissioner Dreehouse.
Thank you. Just a couple of things. I was going to mention the public hearing tonight, 6:30 Board of Elections. We're discussing the 3 levies that are potentially going to be on the ballot, those being indigent care, mental health, and seniors. And Madam President, we've got that hearing. And then am I right that in 2 weeks on a Thursday, we'll have the next public hearing for that at one of these meetings? And so those are the opportunities for folks to weigh in regarding the levies. They're really important levies. We had a lot of conversation 5 years ago when these were up. And so we will look forward to hearing from the public related to all 3 of those again. I was going to mention One Ohio. So the district meeting was yesterday, and I too am grateful for all the folks that came and participated, trying to better understand how we should strategically spend those dollars over 18 years. And that's not an easy thing to figure out. And so many of the partners were at the table. That was a really beneficial breakout session to hear everybody's interest and where they think the needs still are in the space when we talk about addiction. And then the statewide meeting was this morning. And so I attended that. We're still getting organized and getting a logo and getting a website and getting, ourselves organized into committees. There's just a lot of detail that goes into this work. But I did ask the most pertinent question, I think, from our perspective, which is when might we expect to see that money? And so the direct allocation is here or coming very soon for Hamilton County outside of the foundation money. The foundation money, which is larger, will be coming sometime soon, was the answer. And so the work that we're doing locally is so important that we make sure that once that money is available, we'll be ready to go with some recommendations to the state board. So I think we're right on track here in Hamilton County, and really, really grateful again to the folks that are participating. The one other thing I had was I went to a grand opening of Triversity up in Walnut Hills. Mel Gravely was there. Lots of my brother Dan was there. A lot of people were there. And so it was a good celebration. Triversity is a major contractor in Hamilton County, and they've got a brand new spanking facility up in Walnut Hills. And they're really proud of being in that neighborhood and the work that they will continue to do to build things in Hamilton County. So congratulations to Mel and the team for that great facility. Thank you.
Thank you. Jeff Aludo, our county administrator.
Thank you, Madam President. I have just a couple of comments and then some by leaves, which I'm actually going to defer to the county engineer on. But just a couple of quick comments with the recent past, seems like month maybe of weather that we've had coming through. I did just want to give a thanks and a kudos to Nick Crosley and the staff of EMA, who I know has worked so closely with all of our jurisdictions and with Duke Energy to help keep the public informed of power outages, restoration times, and making sure that, especially as we're looking at heat emergencies and things of that nature, making sure that we're coordinating with communities on where people can go to stay cool during those times, et cetera. So I know that is a thankless behind the scenes task sometimes. I just want to thank Nick and all of his staff, as well as the staff of our 911 office, who during those times receive a tremendous amount of calls and requests for assistance. And while we're talking about increased workload, we know that we have some economic headwinds that we're currently dealing with in terms of inflation, interest rates, et cetera. But one of the leading indicators that we typically look at in terms of locally how we're faring in the economy is our building permits. And the Planning and Development Department is setting records on a monthly basis for how many permits are coming through that office. So that's a good sign that aside from some of these more macroeconomic trends, that we do continue to see a lot of activity here locally in terms of building permits. So I wanted to thank James Noyes, Ryan Shoemaker, Michelle Gibson, everyone else up on the 8th floor who helps keep the permitting process running for us here locally. And especially I've been around in times when we're getting a lot of calls from developers and builders about process delays and things of that nature. With this amount of volume, knock on wood, we haven't heard a whole lot of that. So great job to everybody up on the 8th floor. And that's maybe a good segue to Mr. Beck, Engineer Beck, whose staff is also a part of that process, along with a lot of other entities in the county. So there are 4 by leave items on your agenda today, and all of these relate to the county engineer. So Engineer Beck, I will turn it over to you. Actually, there's 5 by leaves, 4 of which relate to Engineer Beck.
Thank you, Jeff. And I apologize for bringing by leave items to you, but all 4 of these have time-specific deadlines on them, either due to the revised code or some grant deadlines we have. So I appreciate Leslie getting these on the calendar for us today. The first one, by leave number 1, is the engineer submitting the engineer's report for the annexation of 62.372 acres from Harrison Township to the city of Harrison. This is known as the Kerr annexation. The board originally heard this on June 30th. The county engineer's office finds that the legal descriptions, the plat, and the parcel list to be accurate on the amended petition that they submitted, and we recommend the approval of the amended annexation.
Okay, thank you. Any discussion on by leave 1?
Yeah, I have a question. So I got a communication, I was just looking it up to see, I got it yesterday from Ed Andres. He lives in Harrison, and he expressed some concern about the annexation. I think the specific annexation, but the idea that there are often annexations that we see in Harrison. And so I feel like it's a little late to weigh in at this point for any kind of response from us, because I don't have the context. But I think it might be helpful for a future meeting, maybe a staff meeting, to learn more about what's going on in Harrison by way of the annexations. They obviously have a plan for development of these properties that are being annexed. And I would like to get a better understanding of what the plan is. And as we continue to see these and potentially get more input from the community, sometimes in opposition, I just would like to better understand what we're dealing with here, because we get these annexations quite often.
We do, and Harrison
yeah.
seems to do a lot of them, and I'd be glad to reach out to them and see if we can schedule a presentation from them.
Yeah, I think that'd be really
Yes.
useful. Okay, thank you. And did you, and I sent you the communication that I
Yes.
received?
Yeah,
Okay.
I reviewed that. Unfortunately, there's not a lot we can do. The engineer's office reviews the technical end of it. This is, I believe, a type 2 expedited annexation, so it has a tight time period on it. So the city sends it to the county for approval. I'm not really sure whether the county's approval matters. I think if you don't act when it meets a certain time deadline, the annexation already automatically happens by code. But I'm not the attorney, so I'm not familiar with that, but the engineer's office reviewed the technical end of it, and everything they've submitted is accurate and complete.
Okay, so to that point, it's really a local decision
Correct.
that has been made here that I think is being objected to. Our role is really not that of judging that local decision, but rather what you've put in front of us, which seems to be in line with what
Correct.
is typically done. So again, Madam President, I'm just interested in getting a little more information related to these annexations as they continue to come and people continue to weigh in. So would really appreciate that
Sure,
effort.
I'll follow up with that.
Thank you.
Thank you for that, because I'm also concerned. I know I got a few comments on this, and they were concerned about the usage of the land once it's
Right.
annexed, so.
Right, which
yeah,
would be
that
a
would be
zoning issue through the city of
Absolutely.
Harrison. So, yeah.
Okay,
So
So-
then by leave 2 is,
Well, let
oh,
me
you
make-
didn't finish
yeah,
that
let
one.
me
Yep,
make the
yep,
motion.
sorry.
okay, I'd like to make a motion to adopt by leave 1.
Second.
Commissioner Summer Dumas.
Yes.
Commissioner Reese.
Yes.
Commissioner Dreehouse.
Yes.
Thank
Okay, and then by leave 2 is the actual resolution granting the amended petition for the annexation of 62.372 acres from Harrison Township to the city of Harrison.
Okay, thank you. No additional discussion. I'd like to make a motion to adopt by leave 2.
Second.
Commissioner Summer Dumas.
Yes.
Commissioner Reese.
Yes.
Commissioner Dreehouse.
Yes.
Thank
Okay,
you.
thank you. Yeah, by leave 3 and 4, both similar. Number 3 is a resolution authorizing an intergovernmental agreement between the county engineer and Springfield Township for an application for SORTA funds for the construction and maintenance of Galbraith Road. The construction estimate is $2,588,000. We're going to apply to SORTA for $1.2 million. We currently have $579,000 already secured from OPWC and $776,000 from Springfield Township. County engineers contributing $25,000 from permissive auto funds. This will allow us to apply for this grant, which the grant application deadline is tomorrow. That's why we're here today with a by leave.
So you're not writing the grant tonight, though?
Nope, it's all
done?
ready to go.
Okay.
We just need this resolution to complete it.
Sure. So any more discussion on that? Okay, I'd like to make a motion to adopt by leave 3.
Second.
Commissioner Summer Dumas.
Yes.
Commissioner Reese.
Yes.
Commissioner Dreehouse.
Yes.
Okay, thank you. And by leave 4 is resolution authorizing an intergovernmental agreement between the engineer and Green Township for the application of SORTA funds for the construction and maintenance of North Bend Road improvements from Rack Acres to the Cheviot Corp. The engineer's estimate is $2,875,000. We're going to apply for $1,150,000 from SORTA. We've already secured $695,000 from Ohio Public Works Commission, $575,000 from Green Township, and the permissive auto funds is going to contribute $455,000 for this project.
Okay, thank you. Any discussion on by leave 4?
No.
Okay, I'd like to make a motion to adopt by leave 4.
Second.
Commissioner Summer Dumas.
Yes.
Commissioner Reese.
Yes.
Commissioner Dreehouse.
Yes.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you so much. And so we have by leave 5.
And Madam President, by leave 5 is reporting no objection to 9 liquor permit applications forwarded by the Sheriff's Office. And I do understand that there is some timing urgency associated with some of these items so that they can get filed with the state and so that these entities can continue their license and continue economic activity as well. So I just wanted to raise that. I have not heard any objections to these from the board, but just wanted to note that as well.
Thank you. Any discussion on by leave 5? Hearing none. I know, as you were saying, there are 9 liquor permit applications. We're getting more, and I said this last time, more and more liquor permits between the door and all the liquor permits. It's like, we have to do our due diligence to just as we do public safety wise to make sure that we're monitoring these places as much as we can. But I also understand with the pandemic that the businesses understand that if they add liquor to their restaurant, they can recoup more money. So I understand that certainly. I'd like to make a motion to adopt by leave 5.
Second.
Commissioner Summer Dumas.
Yes.
Commissioner Reese.
Yes.
Commissioner Dreehouse.
Yes.
Great.
Thank you, Commissioners. No further by leaves.
Thank you so much. see. So we'll move forward to our regular agenda.
Thank you.
Do something real quick.
Sure can.
Yeah, Director Patton, if you could come up for just a second. I had a quick question. I know you're prepared for it, even, I usually try to call you, but just a quick question, and you can get back with me if you'd like.
Sure.
I noticed just coming in, I saw the young men on the corners trying to sell water and selling CDs and all that. And so I was just wondering, are we at our capacity for our youth employment program, or do we have more vacancies that we can get more youth in? Do you know? where we
I don't
are?
have that number with me today, but I can certainly
Why
get it to
not?
you. I don't believe we are at the capacity. We're
Okay.
doing really well. Sent an update, I think about a week and a half ago,
Yeah,
but
you did.
we're
Uh-huh.
making some progress there, but I can certainly get you some more recent numbers about where we are with the youth employment program and
Okay.
their reach so far.
Yeah, and so thank you for all that you're doing. I drove past Kroger's in Forest Park and it was a whole picnic table of young men sitting right there at Kroger's. And I came back around and I told them about our program
Right.
and I don't see them anymore. So
Good.
maybe they called, I gave them the number to call, but there's so many more that need help. So thank you so much
No
for
problem.
what you guys are doing.
Thank you.
So, okay. All right, so we can move forward.
Thank you, Madam President. So items 1 through 6, and I'm going to ask Assistant Administrator Webb to speak to these in a little bit more detail, but these are essentially resolutions to obtain millage certifications to allow these various items to be placed on the ballot when the board so directs that occur. So this is not the start of the process related to these ballot, these specific levies, but it is a necessary step to have the auditor certify the amounts so that when the board directs, they can be placed to the ballot. So we have a couple that, well, there's 3 total: the senior services levy, the health and hospitalization or the indigent care levy, and the mental health services levy, all of which are going to be the subject of a public hearing this evening. But I would ask that Lisa just walk through each of these so that the board has an understanding. The biggest issue that we always deal with on these is, I just want to make it very clear, because sometimes the public who's watching are not aware. Today, you are not certifying these to the ballot. You're only exercising an internal administrative matter to make sure that the proper action is taken so that you can certify one of these options to the ballot at a later date. So Lisa, if you wouldn't mind just walking through the process here.
Yes, thank you, commissioners. This is the first commissioner's action step with the levy process to, in essence, ask the auditor to certify ballot resolution amounts for you to choose for the final ballot resolution. The auditor needs to certify the millage amounts for each of those with current property taxes. We have estimates from the auditor right now that we've used in the calculations that have been shared, but this will finalize those amounts for the purposes of the ballot resolutions. Right now, I have those ballot resolutions scheduled to be advanced at the August 9th meeting. We also have a public hearing on July 28th. From that point, we could advance the resolutions as soon as that date. So if that needs to happen, please let me know ahead of schedule and we can make sure everything is prepared for those. But as it stands right now, we have these resolutions on the agenda today. We have the public hearing this evening at 6:30. We have an additional public hearing Thursday, the 28th, has been spoken at 1 o'clock in this room for these meetings. And then final ballot resolutions for approval on August 9th to get to the Board of Elections by August 10th at 4 p.m., which is the state deadline with the Secretary of State to get everything certified for the ballot. So what you have before you right now are 6 options. The first 2 being for the indigent care levy, a renewal levy, it's 4.07 mils. The second is the senior services levy, a renewal levy at 1.6 mils. And then 4 options that we have vetted through the auditor at this point as estimates for options to have on the table for the mental health levy. The reason for each of those options are those are the amounts that the tax levy committee had before them as they were making decisions. And just to make sure we have enough in front of you as possible for consideration. We're just going ahead and administratively getting all of those certified in advance. It's in no way stating one or the other will be advanced by the commissioners on August 9th. The four options are a renewal levy of 2.99 mils, a renewal with an increase to 3.16 mils, which is a 5-year inflation, a 10-year inflation which would be a renewal with an increase to 3.26 mils, and the TLRC recommended amount, which was 3.37 mils. So those would be the four before you today, and that encompasses items 1 through 6.
Okay, thank you.
Mhm.
Thank you for that clarity, and also Jeff for indicating that this does not certify the ballot, but this is something we need to do administratively. So if we can discuss 1 through 6 instead of dividing them, that would be great. Vice President Reese, did you have any comments?
Yes, I just had some points of clarification. Two things. Number one, you said we're preparing these. Is today the only day we could prepare them?
No, this is not the only date. This is basically the first opportunity since the tax levy presentation last week. We can bring them forward again up to the meeting on the 28th, just in advance of that meeting on the 9th. That's just the last commission scheduled meeting ahead of that. Any consideration, if the commissioners wanted to consider another option for any of the 3 levies, we would need to pass another certificate or another resolution similar to this to ask the auditor to certify that amount. So if there are any other options on the table, getting those to me so I could get to the auditor to get an initial estimate to use for these certification resolutions ahead of the meeting on the 28th would be helpful.
Okay, so today is not
No, today is not
dire
the end.
emergency.
This is the start. Yes.
Okay, my second question, the reason why, and this will be my first one going through the public hearing part of these particular levies. And really wanted to hear from some folks. Hopefully they'll show
Absolutely.
up tonight. But my second question, and that's because we're asking, there's a possibility of an increase. The other ones are
Right.
just renewals, but we're talking now about a possible increase.
Mhm.
So my other question is, when we were doing the presentation, I wanted to just make sure I understand it properly. There were some other levies that we had that we're just doing renewals on. And we said that, even though some of the stuff that was funded by mental health, we thought could be in another levy. And you said we couldn't because the language of the ballot
Mhm.
was there. And because it's renewals, you can't change the language.
Correct. You
Okay.
cannot change. Well, you can, anytime you change the ballot language, it would become a new levy.
A new levy.
Yeah.
Okay. Got that. So we hold that thought. So that's on the renewals. But now we go into a possible increase.
Mhm.
So now can that language be
It
different?
would, so the consideration is anything that is a renewal, even if it's a renewal with an increase or renewal with a decrease or a straight renewal, still falls under the renewal of the previous ballot language. So anytime you change the ballot language in any way, the entire levy is reclassified as a new levy.
And what does that mean? If we do more money, and we
Yes.
say we want, because one of the things I'm concerned about is in levies in general, not
Mhm.
this particular levy, is that we sometimes put things on and it says one thing in the language. We saw that with the stadiums. It said one thing with all this language, but then verbally, we advertised something else. We saw this with the bus levy. We came in with certain language and then we did a commercial.
Mhm.
And then when I got elected and after the people passed it, then all of a sudden we can't provide any transportation for the Cincinnati Public Schools. So now all the people that was voting for me was upset. Why did you give me a lie? So I'm trying to make sure the levy ballot language equals to what the people really want.
I
And I
appreciate
don't know
your
where I get
examples.
wiggle room.
Because all of the examples you gave are levies that the commissioners did not
Yeah, now that
approve.
we didn't put them on, I'm
Yes.
just saying,
Every levy the commissioners approve, and that's my task over the last 15
Right.
years, to make sure that the dollars that are spent in coordination with the administration, with the commissioners, and with the prosecutor's office are for services that fall under the levy language
Right.
legally that we can provide.
correct.
sure.
So where I'm at now is we wanted to look at those other levies because
Mhm.
we felt that some of those mental health issues we're in some other areas. And you said we couldn't, you even looked into something for mental health. I can't remember what it was, but you said it cannot
I
do it
think this-
because the levy language is
The
strict.
specific reference, I believe, and correct me on this for sure, is within the indigent care levy. We do have just over $2 million, I believe it's $2.4 million of services that go to the Mental Health and Recovery Services Board, but they are for the substance abuse treatment side of the Mental Health and Recovery Services Board and not mental health services.
Gotcha.
So those services need to remain in the indigent care levy versus being able to come into the mental health levy.
Gotcha. Yeah, I'm just trying to make sure that, because something was like, this mental
Yeah.
health levy can't do treatment.
Right, this,
And
yeah,
we need
this
people-
levy
And if we're gonna
specifically,
increase the cost, we're gonna increase more money, we won't be able to help people with treatment because
Right.
that will not
all the
happen.
dollars associated within the mental health levy, renewal increases, whatever the total amount is that goes to the ballot can only be used for mental health services. Yes, the way the ballot language is, it cannot be used and is not used for substance abuse services, although Mental Health and Recovery Services Board coordinates both efforts. Any of their contracts for substance abuse services use other funding.
Gotcha. But is there, since we talking about an increase,
Mhm.
in my mind, that's a new levy in my
Yeah.
mind. Is that,
It is not.
it can't be,
No, it is not a new levy. If you
Can it
wanted,
be?
if you wanted a new levy, you could do, and you can do anything. You can put a new levy on the ballot. You could have it be for mental health and substance abuse services under
well,
a
not substance
different
abuse, but I'm
or,
saying.
or whatever.
yeah.
Yeah, you could, oh, excuse me. You could do human services. Some counties do an overall human services levy and they fund multiple things out of that. That is available. The key piece that I keep in mind whenever we start talking about new levies is that the property valuations that are used for new levies are different. It's a different calculation to generate that amount of revenue. And when you look at that, new levies, because of changes at the state going back about 10 years ago, are not eligible for owner occupancy credits or non-business tax credits. And those amount to just under 13% of revenues that an older levy as a renewal is able to still maintain and a newer levy does not have, which puts it at a cost disadvantage for especially an owner occupied property. So basically that $100,000 home amount on a new levy is higher for the same amount of money than a renewal levy.
Gotcha. Yeah, I appreciate that because I'm looking at if this levy based on, we want to increase it.
Mhm.
I was saying, do you retire this one?
Yeah.
And have a new one? So it's not two levies. It would be but one levy, but
Right.
one that allows for, or why are we increasing if we can't provide the help? I don't want to increase and then we just sitting over here with a bucket and say, well, we really can't help the people that's walking around with mental health issues.
Yeah.
Because that's not in this levy. So that's why I was just trying to
And
get
this
some
levy,
clarity.
for sure, regardless, the mental health issues in the community will provide for, to be able, if it's increased, to continue to provide those mental health services and potentially some additionals, I believe, based on the tax levy committee, the consultants, and Pat Trivy, the head of mental health and recovery services. There certainly is enough need within the community specifically for mental health services
Gotcha.
that we
Okay.
would not be looking at a pile that we were not be able to distribute and utilize over the 5 years.
I got you. I appreciate it. I just don't want to be advertised. We got mental health and we're gonna do more. We got more money, and then you tell us, well, they don't fit in that box.
Yeah.
We can't help them.
Mhm.
I'm not just, because it's a tough time right out here and people don't, I'm not big for putting increased costs on people. But if it can't help more, I'm not saying expansive of the need. The need of mental health is broadened, I guess,
It
the
is.
scope, I guess is the word, the scope of people that need help. And I don't want to just, we got this hypothetically, only 3 types of people can fit this. And I said, all we can do, but we're going to put more money in it. And then 4, 5, and 6, you don't qualify, but we put more money for,
Right.
1, 2, and 3 only. So I just wanted, that's why I was trying to ask you about that. I'm just getting some clarity. That's
I
all. But
will,
this
I
has
will
been helpful.
mention too, that reference I meant to mental health being included in the indigent care levy. There are within the levies, a lot of cross references and usages, and we try our best to navigate that if there's opportunities for other funding within the other different levies to utilize that. So what mental health gets isn't just mental health levy potentially, if we can collaborate with other funding sources as well.
Gotcha. Thank you. Thank you for the clarification. Just wanted to get understanding. Thank you.
Thank you, Commissioner Dreehouse.
Thank you. Thanks, Lisa. And I just, having gone through that questioning, I just want to thank you for providing the information. I think you're the only person, no offense to Jeff, that really understands all these levies and all these millages and all these amounts and
That would be the auditor.
Yeah,
I don't
there you go.
pretend to understand that.
we'll get Dusty up here, but it's really, it's very complicated.
Mhm.
And whether it's a renewal or a new levy and what that means per the state law, and it's very complicated. And so you have been very helpful, not only to us, but also the TLRC in making sure we all understand exactly what we're doing here. So I'm very grateful for that. And I look forward to the presentation tonight with the public hearing and hearing from the public. Thank you.
Don't expect a long presentation.
There you go.
Thank you. And the mental health levy has not had an increase since 2008 or was it
2007, I believe. We were double checking that after the meetings.
2007? Okay. Okay, thank you. With no further discussion, I'd like to make a motion to approve items 1 through 6.
Second.
Commissioner Summer Dumas.
Yes,
Commissioner Reese.
Yes.
Commissioner Dreehouse.
Yes.
Thank you.
thank you.
Thank you.
Thanks so much. We have item 7 through 10.
Good afternoon again. I would like to follow up with Commissioner Reese and just let you know that the 513 relief bus on Tuesday afternoon was delivered to our facility. So we have a parking spot for it.
Oh,
We will fuel it
They
and
probably tired of hearing my mouth, so that's probably why.
just wanted you to know that is there, it's parked,
Oh my
and we will do everything we can to assist with maintenance and operation. So,
Oh, my God.
all right.
Mr. Engineer, just so we're all clear, this is the temporary.
This is the temporary
uh,
bus.
Yes.
Okay,
Just
that's fine.
Yes.
just wanted to manage expectations, right?
Yeah, thank you. I'm about to say, what?
And we're ready
The
for the
body
permanent
double.
bus when it gets here.
The body double has arrived.
Yeah, the body
Okay.
double, and it looks nice. It
Oh,
does
good.
look nice. So, all right. Item number 7 is a resolution amending the intergovernmental agreement between Hamilton County and Sycamore Township for installation of internally illuminated street signs. The board originally passed an agreement in April. Since then, Sycamore Township has requested to add 2 more signs. So this adds signs at Kenwood Road and American Way and Plainfield Road at Larchview Drive. There's no cost to the county involved in this.
Thank you so much. Any discussion on item 7? Hearing none, I'd like to make a motion to adopt item 7.
Second.
Commissioner Summer Dumas.
Yes.
Commissioner Reese.
Yes.
Commissioner Dreehouse.
Yes.
Thank you.
Item number 8 is the engineer's report on the vacation of Breezy Acres Way, or Breezy Acres Drive, excuse me, in Colerain Township. We have evaluated the request for vacation. It's determined that this is fee right away and a portion of the easement right away for the township road and can be disposed of following a public hearing. Once the petitioner satisfies the vacation requirements set forth by the engineer's office, we will come back to the board to schedule a public viewing and public hearing date for this request.
Any discussion? Eric, is this what they call like a paper street?
No, this is an existing street.
Okay.
The petitioner owns all the parcels on either side of it currently.
Okay. Thank you. I'd like to make a motion to adopt item 8.
Second.
Commissioner Summer Dumas.
Yes.
Commissioner Reese.
Yes.
Commissioner Dreehouse.
Yes.
Thanks.
Okay, item number 9 is a resolution for the 2022 thermoplastic and epoxy pavement striping program, which is project 502206. This resolution allows the project to go out to bid. It's for striping in Anderson, Columbia, Crosby, and Harrison townships. The engineer's estimate is $348,131, and the funds come out of the road and bridge funds.
Okay, thank you. Any discussion? I'd like to make a motion to approve item 9.
Second.
Commissioner Summer Dumas.
Yes.
Commissioner Reese.
Yes.
Commissioner Dreehouse.
Yes.
All right, thank you. Item number 10 is a resolution rejecting all bids for the 2022 sidewalk repair replacement program. Unfortunately, all the bidders were above more than 10% over the engineer's estimate. Therefore, we cannot accept them and we will have to reject the bids and take it out, put it out to bid again with a higher engineer's estimate.
Okay.
Madam President,
Yes.
if I could just briefly on this, because I spoke with some offices about this, there was some question yesterday as to whether the board could waive that
10%.
that 10%. And we didn't think it was the case, but there was some question about it and we did run that to ground and we cannot. So it's necessary to reject the bids.
Correct.
Yeah. And I would have probably said not to waive it because once you start, then you
Yeah,
other. yeah,
correct.
so, Yeah, that's great. Yeah, any discussion on item 10?
I have a question.
Sure.
Yeah, so we know they were over 10%. How far over 10%?
Let's see, the engineer's estimate was 51,340. The bid came in at 15% over, which was $59,049. So we're only talking a few $1,000s, but it's percentage that gets us. So, yeah.
Okay, so and just one last question. How quickly do you think we can have something in front of us again?
We have to have everything ready to go. All we're doing is changing the engineer's estimate. So we could get it on the next meeting by leave or the following meeting on regular agenda.
Great, thank you.
So when you say we only have to change the engineer's estimate, then are you going to raise your estimate to meet the ones? that
We'll go
came
back
in?
and look at all the we'll look at what the bids were,
Mm-hmm.
what they say the current prices are, compare them to what we have, and we'll adjust
it,
ours,
adjust it.
and we'll have a new engineer's estimate.
Thanks. I'd like to make a motion to adopt item 10.
Second.
Commissioner Summer Dumas.
Yes.
Commissioner Reese.
Yes.
Commissioner Dreehouse.
Yes?
Thank you very much.
Okay.
Thanks, Eric.
So we have a few consent agenda items. I was just going to go over a few of them. Item 11, resolution number 19 is adopting the 2023 tax budget estimated revenues and expenses. And this is just something we have to go through administratively. It doesn't bind us to any numbers right now, but we have to submit to the auditor because there is a deadline to do that. It was couple other JFS things I wanted to bring up. Item 18, we're providing services once again for group home services. It's between Hope Haven for Girls, who is a provider, 593,000. And then item 19 is residential services through Eastway Corporation, 165,000. Item 20, an agreement with Village Network for residential treatment services. And 21 is with Nico Independent Living Services for $100,000. And then there's just administrative one for JFS. And that was all I had as it relates to the consent items. I'll open it up. Vice President Reese.
I don't have anything on these items.
Okay, thank you. Commissioner Dreehouse?
Yeah, thank you. I have a question on item 12. So this is a budget adjustment for community development and emergency rental assistant grants and engineer road striping. And so to the administrator, there is the American Rescue Plan appropriation in here of about 12.5 million. Could you walk us through what exactly that is?
Yeah, thank you, Commissioner. That is, as the board will recall, we had the ability to apply for some reallocated emergency rental assistance funding. We applied for an initial 5, then we applied for an addition, there's initial 12 million that we wound up ultimately applying for. And then we've actually also applied for an additional 40 million of reallocated funding. We know that we've been awarded the additional 12 million. We haven't received it yet, but we know we've gotten that award. So this is just appropriating those dollars to essentially what it does is it sets up the spending authority so that when we get the check, we can start spending against it as opposed to having to delay and then come back to the board. So we know that we're burning through a pretty high amount per week on this program. So we don't want there to be any break if there doesn't have to be to pause. So the quicker that the federal government sends us these dollars, the quicker we'll be able to spend now that we have the appropriation set up.
Thank you.
And we'll be doing the same thing for the $40 million allotment once we know that we've been awarded that amount.
Thank you.
Welcome.
Can I ask Michael Patton a question since he's here? Related to this. So Michael, we have asked you a number of times about the rental assistance and utility assistance, mortgage assistance, and how the program's going. So I know we're being aggressive with getting these dollars into JFS, which I applaud. I think we're all very supportive of that. Can you tell us where we are right now by way of getting the money out the door and if we still have a backlog? Do you know?
Yeah, we do have a slight backlog. We're working through that backlog. We anticipate the timing of this actually couldn't be better. We were just notified that we were approved for the 12 million we requested. This is the reallocation from the state of Ohio for other municipalities that decided to give their allocation back. So we're going to be approved for that. We're waiting for that to come down. We have had really high levels of need in the community, as you guys are all aware of that. We're processing those applications, and through the beginning of this year, given the fact that we've been processing a substantial number of applications, we're spending close to $1 million a week or so. And so I think this will give us some additional timing in terms of being able to process what we have in the pipeline and what we anticipate getting in terms of new applications. So at this stage here, as I stand here now, I don't believe that we're going to have any challenges as far as having a gap or a pause. But again, some of that is going to be based on how quickly the federal government can get us the additional reallocation we applied for the ERA2. And if you guys will recall, the ERA2 funding will help us move through 2024. So although we've been really aggressive, we've been making sure that we're in the community providing these services. We're keeping a really close eye on those funds, and just want to make you aware for those listening that everyone who is currently in the pipeline, we are confident we can handle that based on our projections.
And part of the reason I'm asking is because not only do we have these funds coming into JFS to respond to the need, but we also just heard about the bus and that it's ready to go back out. And we had the Relief-a-thon in Woodlawn as well. So there are all these efforts happening. I'm trying to understand what kind of backlog we have now if we were to go back out and do more of the community-based Relief-a-thon or the 513 relief bus or whatever the context is around it. Does it make sense to start doing that fairly quickly here? Or does it make more sense to hesitate for a minute and let the backlog get caught up and then go out? And if we were to go back out on the community, the small community forums, whether it's bricks and mortar, whatever it is, how frequently, because these things all align, right? They all tie together.
Correct. And a lot of it has to do with the timing. So been monitoring specifically the 12 million and trying to get an idea based on what's in the pipeline and what we know we've gotten so far. And that includes what we've been able to do on the Relief-a-thon to try to anticipate as far out as possible how long we think that would last. And right now we're at about 12 weeks. So we think this will give us about 3 more months at the current pace that we've seen in terms of applications. So I think we need to really pay a close attention to the applications that we have coming in, monitor those really closely, and communicate with Jeff and the commission about kind of where things stand as it relates to that. But we'll provide you guys with a more recent update on where things stand as of now, so you can kind of get a picture of where we are.
Okay, yeah, I think we're all anxious to make sure that the community has access to this money
Sure.
and this relief. It's just a matter of when and how we do that. So I think that those reports will be really helpful.
No
Yep.
problem.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Madam President,
Mhm.
I just wanted, just so we, those are good questions, just for clarity. So can we get by early next week, what is the number for backlog?
Absolutely, we can get that to you, yeah.
1,000, 2,000?
Sure.
Number two, I want to get a report from the Relief-a-thon. The first Relief-a-thon, we were able to get a report. We know that we helped 700 families, and we know what percentage was what they needed. And just want to, because I know my office is getting calls and follow-up, and people are concerned. They hadn't heard from anyone. So I want to know how many people did we really help there? And then we took a number of names.
Mhm.
By 12:30, I think we were at 500 people, and we still had a couple hundred people outside. Our flyer said that we would not stop taking people's information until 2:00. And so I know that we did get their name and number, but I want to know that anybody called them. So if we could just get something with a couple columns. One is how many people in and completed. And then people that we got telephone numbers, called, completed, outstanding, so we know kind of where we are. And then the backlog will help us. So it's not like we get a message, oh, we don't have, because we keep having these messages. We don't have money, we're gonna pause. We do have money, we're gonna go. Now we're gonna pause. And I just think that we can do a little better job of planning if we've got the data to say, hey, this week we 1,000 people backlog. This week we 200 people backlog. We got everybody. I want to also thank you, because I know this board, and I know I was very vocal as well about, we only went for 5 million. And as you can see from Woodline down the street, they went down Woodline Boulevard, all the way down Springfield Pike, down to the ice cream shop of people that needed help. And so I think we're dead on about, we needed as much resources, because these resources come from Washington and they go back to Washington. And we're not trying to send a dime back to Washington. We send our taxpayers up to Washington. Our taxpayer money been going to Washington. We don't want it to go to Chicago and go to Michigan and all that. We want the money here. So I want to thank you for going back and asking for those additional dollars and asking for as much funding as we can, because this is the taxpayers' money to be spent to help the people who need help here in Hamilton County. So I do want to thank you for going back and get those dollars, but I think that data will help us as people are calling our office and kind of understanding where we are. Now, additional to that, Jobs and Family Services every day has some money. I mean, on a regular basis, these are things that
Correct.
so the 513 relief bus is not just because of ARPA, but it's a new way of doing business where we getting out of these cubicles and we going out to the community, and we have ongoing money that we already have that's out there. So I wanted to just reiterate that as well.
Thank you, Vice President. We can get you that update in terms of the data from the Relief-a-thon, and also where things stand as far as what we anticipate and project, given the reallocation funding and where we are currently, just so you have a better picture of sort of what our spend rate is and what we anticipate getting. Some of the, again, I mentioned again, some of the variable in this is the timing in terms of when we get the money from the federal government. So we're monitoring that really closely. So I'll get that information to the board for your feedback, and be happy to answer any additional questions related to that.
I think another significant barrier is the shortage of staff. And so we can talk about backlogs and trying to, get that taken care of. And maybe if you could give us a report of where you are with your staffing. I mean, that would be helpful as we try to move forward too.
Thank you.
Okay.
I can do that. Thank you very much.
Thank you.
And I think, yeah, I think, trying to remember where we were. So no, that's all I had related to the consent
Okay.
agenda.
And I was just going to say, I know Suzanne Burke sent us a nice memo from Council on Aging as it relates to the programs that she's covering, home repair and the utility assistance. And I'll send you guys a copy of what I sent her, but we're like almost in silos. There's only 5 zip codes that are taking advantage of these services. So, and I wrote to Jeff about how we can expand our marketing to make sure more areas know about it. So I'll move forward with our consent agenda items. Item 11 through 23, I'd like to make a motion to adopt 11 through 23.
Second,
Commissioner Summer Dumas,
Yes,
Commissioner Reese.
yes.
Commissioner Dreehouse.
Yes.
thank you. Okay, we have an executive session.
President?
Yes.
Before we go into executive session, I apologize. On my, early on my comments, I forgot to, I wanted to acknowledge and send prayers out to Bill Hager, who was one of the managing editors at WLWT Channel 5. Was at Channel 5 yesterday to do a segment on the Cincinnati Black Music Walk of Fame. And they had grief counseling with the workers there because of the loss of Bill. He was riding his bike in the Loveland Bike Trail, and he passed away from, I believe, a heart attack. It was a shocker. He's only 51 years young. And just seeing the employees of WLWT going in for grief counseling, and it just has been a shaken time for them. So I just wanted to keep WLWT Channel 5 employees in our prayers, and of course, his family in prayers. He was there for 25 years. And just to be so young at only 51 years. So did want to acknowledge that. And also wanted to, you had mentioned home repair. I saw in our Jeff, our administrator, his report that there's a RFP, I guess, going out where we will be launching a home repair program once someone is selected with the RFP. So certainly those ideas that you talked about, getting it out to different zip codes, hopefully will be a part of the RFP of whoever gets that position to include that. So just want to let people know home repair program is coming, an extended version of it.
Extended, yeah.
And there's a RFP out there for people to bid on. So just wanted to say that.
Thank you. Okay, do you have anything you'd like to say, Commissioner Dreehouse,
Yeah.
before I go to executive session? I'd like to make a motion to go to executive session.
Second.
Okay, that's.
I was so quick to
That's
say
okay.
second.
Pursuant to Ohio Revised Code, Section 121.22 G3, to meet with an attorney for the public body concerning pending litigation.
Second.
Commissioner Summer Dumas.
Yes.
Commissioner Reese.
Yes.
Commissioner Dreehouse.
Yes.
Thank you.
Madam President, just a
Yes.
brief note.
Okay, we are back from executive session with no action being taken. You have in front of you a resolution which says resolution authorizing the employment of special counsel to provide legal services to Judge Guy L. Reese II, visiting judge, Court of Common Pleas. I'd like to make a motion to adopt this resolution.
Second,
Commissioner Summer Dumas.
Yes,
Commissioner Reese.
yes.
Commissioner Dreehouse.
Yes.
thank you. With no further business to come before the board, I'd like to make a motion to adjourn.
Second,
Commissioner Summer Dumas.
Yes.
Commissioner Reese.
yes.
Commissioner Dreehouse.
Yes.
Thank you.